by holding on to that bitterness and that grudge. That's not hurting them, it's hurting you. Hey, what's going on, fighters? Hopefully you're doing awesome today. I want to encourage you that a fighter isn't someone who never fails. A fighter is someone who never quits. And in this video, I want to talk to you about forgiveness and the power of forgiveness, because I wrote a song earlier this year called Grenades, and it was about holding grudges. And you know, when someone's name comes up and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, it's like all of a sudden it reminds you that, man, I got some harbored unforgiveness here. And there's a lyric that I wrote that actually was inspired by a preacher named John Hagee that talked about the handcuffs of hate, and that hate just really handcuffs you and I to that person and to that grudge, and it doesn't hurt them. It just hurts us. And, you know, it stops and stunts our creativity. It stunts our motivation. It stunts everything that you're called to do. It stunts your faith. And I believe that your connection to God, because the Bible says if you can't forgive others, then I'm not going to forgive you. And I know maybe someone has done some horrible, terrible things to you. And it's just like, you're like, how can I forgive them? Well, I was at a marketing conference in Nashville last year, and this was all about marketing. And this guy stood up and he started sharing his story, how he was like a rock star and he owned like all these rental properties, and he ended up getting cancer. And long story short, he did tons of research and he got his health back. And when he was studying health and he was able to be a cancer survivor and conqueror, he realized the power of unforgiveness, and that is just bitterness to the bones and bitterness to your cells and the effect it just has on your health and everything else in your body. And long story short, he had over 1,000 people stand up in that room, in a marketing room, non-Christian room, and had you stand up and shout the person that you needed to forgive. And honestly, at first I was just like, I don't know who I need to forgive. And then I thought about it for a second. All of a sudden I realized it was my dad. And I'm 40 years old now. I know I look a lot younger than that, but I'm 40 years old, and I lost my dad over 35 years ago when I was 5 years old, sorry. And I didn't realize I was still harboring forgiveness. And so with kind of tears in my eyes, I shouted out who I needed to forgive. And I can't tell you the peace and just the calmness that came over my body, and releasing that and letting it go and not even knowing that it was holding me back. And I encourage you, as you're trying to chase after your dreams and all these things, by holding on to that bitterness and that grudge, that's not hurting them, it's hurting you. It's hurting you from achieving everything that you're called to be. And so maybe you need to do something really hard. Maybe you need to first call out the person you need to forgive. Maybe you need to send an email. Maybe you need to pick up the phone. You know, maybe you need to write a letter. I don't know what it is, but I encourage you to do that, because, you know, if we do what's easy, our life will be hard. But if we do what's hard, our life will be easier. So I encourage you, you know, it's not easy forgiving someone, but do the right thing. Do what's hard, and I promise you, things will get smoother. Hey, I want to encourage you that a fighter isn't someone who never fails. A fighter is someone who never quits. Peace.